Hello, hello, LTA family. What a terrific Tuesday. Hi, we're back for another episode of Let's Talk About It, where we are liable to talk about anything. But today we're going to talk about you versus you. How do we challenge ourselves to grow? Oh, I know, guys, and growth and change is not always easy. It is a lot of work and it's hard work, right? And sometimes we're stuck. We're stuck in negative cycles. We're stuck in our trauma. We're stuck in negative self talk, thought patterns, cultural beliefs. There are so many things that can keep us stuck and stagnant from growing, right? And we often become creatures of habit, whether it's good habits or not so good habits. And so, how do we challenge that? How do we challenge ourselves to grow? So, a friend of mine and myself and a friend, sorry, were talking, and she made a very, very good point. One of the points that she mentioned was the brain's job is to trigger and tell us, is something safe? Like that is one of the first functions that the brain actually does. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And when I kind of looked it up and looked at the research, that is very true. The brain first asks, is this a safe situation? Which is the job of our brains. Thank God for it, right? But then in turn, it triggers our nervous system, and then we can react based on the situation, right? And that reaction is dependent upon what the situation is. So we can either be happy, excited, fearful, scared, whatever, the gamut of emotions, right? And so oftentimes it is more of an internal conflict, whereas we try to make things an external issue. So that's where the you versus you challenge is coming into play because our thoughts in our mind control our actions, right? So it's you versus you and not the external things that oftentimes we want to blame situations on. And so we have to take accountability for our actions, guys. Accountability is the biggest thing. And this is for myself included. I've had to also take accountability in many different ways, right? And so the battle between who you are and where you want to be is one of the internal conflicts that we often go through. So I'm going to use myself for an example, right? So I've been working out forever, guys. I've been working out forever. And I love working out. The easiest part of health and wellness for me is the working out part. Okay. Not necessarily getting up. Sometimes that's a struggle. Or going. Sometimes that's a struggle. But that's not the hardest part for me. Once I'm in the gym, I'm in there. I love it. I work out. I'm in the zone. Sometimes I have to set a timer to like make sure that I set this limit on how long I'm there, right? And so that's the easy part. But we also know that health and wellness, nutrition is the biggest key. That's bigger probably than the actual workout. And so I know for a fact I would have the six pack that I'm looking for, four pack, something by now if I was a little bit more disciplined with my eating. If when my girls call and say, girl, come on, let's go out Friday night, let's go to brunch, I would be more disciplined to say, girl, I can't. I'm going to cook at home. I'm still struggling with that. All right. And I think life is about balance, but it's good balance. It's learning when to say no and when it's like, okay, I can do that. And so, again, that's my internal conflict, but I also have to take accountability for the fact that I don't have the six pack that I want. I have to say to myself, Dana, you don't have the six pack because you've been going to brunch or you wanted that shot of tequila. And I don't feel guilty about it all the time. But sometimes it is like, okay, we need to reel it in. We need to get more discipline. And that's where accountability is so, so important. Another way that you versus you can impact us is where we let our emotions versus our logic come into play. Oof, Lord. Now, this is a deeper topic, and we can delve into this for days. But, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm not judging anybody, I promise. I've already been there, done it. All right. How many of us have stayed in unhealthy relationships and we know it was not the healthiest for us? How many of us, right? And we say to ourselves, well, I love him. I love this person. I love this man. I love this woman. And you stay, right? Whereas logic is telling you, I don't know. Might not be the best for me. It may be an unsafe situation. Why a lot of people stay in abusive marriages and relationships and things like that, right? And so it's important that we look at our emotions versus our logic, okay? And knowing when a relationship isn't healthy and operating out of logic more so than our emotions. And in some cases, it's what can keep us safe. So I'm hoping that I'm not talking about somebody who's being abused. If so, guys, I'm actually going to put a domestic violence number and hotline in the details and comments for anyone who might need that resource. That just popped in my mind, but I'm gonna do that. All right. And so lastly, we can also look at self-sabotage, which is kind of what I was talking about before in my example about losing my own weight and getting more disciplined with my eating. Self-sabotage versus self-discipline. All right, guys. Self-sabotage versus self-discipline. All of this is still you versus you. Okay. And again, I've been a hamster on a wheel with this working out. I would do it Monday through Thursday. I am killing it. I'm meal prepping. I'm taking my lunch to work. I'm doing everything I need to do Monday through Thursday. And then Friday comes and here goes in my brain clicking up. It's party time. Let's go get that margarita. Let's go out with your friends. Let's go, and now I'm a hamster on a wheel because, yeah, my weight may be remaining the same, but that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for me to be cutting the fat so I can gain more of the muscle so that I can get the quote unquote six pack. Y'all, I ain't really concerned about a six pack. Not really. But I would like to lose a couple pounds. And again, I have to take accountability for that. I have to look at how I'm self sabotaging. I really am. And I can't blame my friends. I can't blame the restaurant industry. I can't blame the tequila. Blame it on the alcohol. I don't know why that song came in my mind. Anyway, I can't blame the tequila or anything else for my lack of self discipline, right? I can't, right? So I have to take personal accountability for why I am not growing, why I'm staying stuck and stagnant, why the things that I have set forth for myself are not necessarily coming into fruition. Okay. And so one time, and I'm sorry, I'm good for going off on a side note, but this is a funny story. So I'm working out, I mean, killing it in the gym, and I was losing weight and, wonderful. And I had an old trainer, not my current trainer. Shout out to Janae. Hey, girl. But I had a previous trainer that I was working out with, and it was Friday. And y'all, he caught me in line getting a 10-piece wing and fries. And we both bust out laughing. We really did. But again, it was like, okay, Dana, it was a moment where the spotlight was on me and I was caught. And so it was just funny how, I was caught in my own self sabotage. Okay. And so the reality is, in order for you to get the desired results that you want, you got to look in the mirror. It's you versus you. It's not the external things. It's not the government, why you can't get paid. It's not, and yes, some things are barriers. I'm not saying that, right? Some cultural beliefs are negative self talk, um, rising inflation. All of that can be barriers to our ultimate goals. But in the end, what can you do to show up for you? What can you change to hold yourself accountable? How can you practice better discipline? How can you get off the hamster wheel and learn to check yourself and not engage in the self sabotage, right? All of those things are things that you have control over. And that's all we can do. We cannot place control or try to control any of the external factors. The only people that we can control, or the only things that we can control, is ourselves. All right. And that's a message that I preach to my small babies as a school counselor, guys. Locus of control, right? The only thing, or the only things that we have control over, is our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And so if we can take our own personal accountability and we can challenge our fears, challenge our limitations, challenge our beliefs that are hindering us, we can see growth. We can see change, right? And just know that God is calling you to be a better person, right? And so let's take that accountability. It's only you versus you. Challenge yourself to grow. All right. So that's the message for today, guys. I'm going to pull a motivational message for today. And again, guys, it may not even be related to the topic, but I'm sure it's something that somebody needs to hear. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. All right. And oh my God, this is a good message. To love yourself is to understand you don't have to be perfect to be good. I love that. And I'm going to repeat that for those who needed to hear it. To love yourself is to understand that you don't have to be perfect to be good. You are perfectly imperfect, by the way. All right. Love you, fam. Thanks. See you next Tuesday.